Come on up and have a seat. We're missing a couple people.
Yes, still a couple on the way, I guess.
Malcolm is
Unable to be here?
She'll be in a few minutes.
Is she bringing enough for everybody? Please have a seat. Yeah, that's true. Okay. Now, I was asking before you arrived who saw the movie, and most of the audience has saw the movie and really, really liked it. So do you want to start talking about the movie, how you guys got involved?
I want to see a show of hands first. All right. Wow.
That's what most of the audience had. I think that may need to be turned on.
Hello.
Oh, there it is. It's working. Good. So you want to go ahead and start? How did you get involved? I'm assuming you from Lords of Salem, and then...
Yeah, Rob Zombie, if you get on with Rob, and he gets on with you, he likes to keep his same group around him. It makes him comfortable. So I did the first Lords of Salem, which I did audition for. And then the second one, he actually wrote the roles Malcolm of myself. And it's always good working with him. He keeps a really cool, happy set. And from my point of view, I wouldn't get to play a character like this or dress up like this in any other kind of film. So I'm very happy to be working with him.
That's cool. Go ahead.
I had not worked with Rob before 31, but the casting director who cast the movie had cast me in a couple of films before, and so she recommended me to Rob for the role. And I think he had seen me in some things that Breaking Bad, and so kind of knew who I was, and that was that. So then I got to be a clown with a chainsaw, which is a dream come true for anyone, I think, right?
Yeah. Especially the chainsaw part.
Right now, Andy Sidney, you were smooth at Breaking Bad.
Meg Foster's here, yay! If there or there, either which one makes you feel comfortable. Some people don't like sitting next to me. For obvious reasons.
No, it's the microphone.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do we need another microphone for me? No.
I think that's, we're right at our limit on microphones. Sorry about that. So we were asking, and if you want to go ahead, of how you got involved with 31.
I had
Yeah, that was it?
yeah.
Okay.
That's how I got it. I got a call, and I had some, my manager submitted me and said, you're going in for a movie, here's the sides, do what you can do with them. And when I went into the audition room, the lady was just like, do you have any questions? I said, no, let's attack this. And then she said, I just want to recommend one thing, don't scream the whole time and run around. And so I said, okay, that means probably everyone was screaming and running around, so I won't do that. And I ended up getting the role. And that's how I started working with Rob.
But Pancho spends most of his time screaming and running around, so that was a big change for me.
Meg,
Oh, yes.
how you got involved in 31? Once again, I'm assuming, if that microphone's not working, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Hi. I was invited.
So just from Lords of Salem, where you yeah.
No, Rob said, would I like to film? And I said,
Okay.
because I had worked with him, Judy and I had on a film called Lords of Salem, and I knew that Judith was going to be there, and so yeah, I showed up.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get started with our questions. Who has a question? Come on, don't be shy. Are you serious? Last night we had a ton of questions. Right over here. Oh, we got one here, and then we'll go over there.
So yeah, I just had a question for the entire cast. Is could you walk us through like what Rob Zombie's like leadership style when you're on set? You know what I mean? Like, what is it? How does he get a performance out of you? Does he let you kind of build the character on your own? Does he like give you like really concrete guidance? So could you just kind of walk us through like the methodology of that a little bit?
Shall I go first here?
Yes, absolutely.
In my experience, once Rob's cast you, it's really down to you. He doesn't really give you, or didn't give me, specific direction. What he does really well is he really enjoys you, which makes you feel good. And he keeps a really happy, easygoing set. And basically, I think what happens, it always happens on a film, is you become a little unit. You know, you're working together to pull something off. And in my experience, Rob just becomes a great audience. You do a take, and he when he loves it, he loves it. He also has his own crew behind the camera, and he is a wonderful operator called Dave. And if he likes a shot, I did a scene in Lords at Salem where I had to say some pretty wild stuff. And when it came to the end, Dave just went, yeah! And that's the atmosphere. And so you feel good working there.
I want to hear Pancho's answer.
Well, when I got the part, I just I auditioned for it and I got the part, and then we went and did a light test, camera test and stuff before we shot the movie, and that's when I found out that I was playing a Nazi Hitler clown. And then, so that was kind of interesting. Rob was really stoked on it. And, you know, I thought, you know, I'm not a Nazi by no means, but if I get the opportunity to play a killer, what an opportunity to play one of the most infamous killers of all time. And then he said, I want you to speak Spanish in it. And I tried to make sense of that. And then I started doing a little research, and what I found out was a lot of the Nazis that didn't die in World War II, a lot of them migrated to South America. So,
Yeah.
Argentina, Colombia, Brazil. And in most of those countries, they speak Spanish. I am originally from Santiago, Chile, so it made more sense to me for this part. And it just gave me a lot to work with rather than thinking in my head that this doesn't make sense to me. So that's how I attacked it. And for the lighting test, Rob was just like, I want you to do all your dialogue in Spanish. Do you remember it from the audition? I said, no. But at the same time, no one is going to understand what I'm saying anyway. So let's just do it. And so I did, and I've never seen someone be so happy about something and come up to me and say, listen, we're changing all your dialogue to Spanish. It's just something very creepy about someone that wants to kill you and you don't know what the hell they're saying. And then I said, Rob, are you going to put subtitles on it? And he said, no. There we go. That's how sick I came about.
So, Pancho, did you, in a sense, write your own role?
I still try to keep the same dialogue, but sometimes English doesn't transition to Spanish the same way, so you got to improvise.
So you could have got a credit, really.
Yeah, I guess so. I try to go in and out of it, so it makes sense to me, and makes sense to Rob. And working with Rob, he is a true professional at his craft. He trusts his actors, and you just got to trust him to take you on this journey and this vision that he has. And you know, at the end of the day, it's either going to work or it's not. And it's Rob's vision, and it's what he does for his fans and for himself. So. Yeah.
And what's cool is he looks at the skill set of the actor. Like Pancho can speak Spanish, so he's like, well, we got to use that. I speak Japanese, and he almost always, when I get a job, the directors that you work with rarely have time to like really research you outside of what you're going to be doing in their movie. You audition, they look at your audition, and they're like, okay, yes, he's right. But Rob like knew when I met him the first time. He was like, oh, you do stand-up? I saw your stand-up. I know that you speak Japanese. Like he had looked me up and watched some of my stuff, and he was like, I wonder if there's a way we can use the Japanese in this. So I ended up, we ended up shooting a scene where my character like sings a song in Japanese. It didn't make it into the cut, but it still informed what I was doing with the character. And there are some, I think there's like one word of Japanese that I say that's still in there, but you wouldn't really notice it. It's when I'm being killed. But that's what I thought was really great about working with Rob, was that he looks at each actor's unique skill and tries to figure out how he can use that in his film. And then, as Judy said, as far as your performance, he kind of lets the actor play and figure out, do their own thing, but he gives you that kind of guidance beforehand.
Encouragement, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mary? Yeah.
Rob is, everything about him is an energy, and it's specifically him. And it's one of the most extraordinary experiences working with him for all these reasons. There's it's a labyrinth of him. We all he does trust us implicitly, but as you know, he grabs things and brings things out that I have never experienced that specific way in which it happens, because everything about him is an artist. He writes it. He does the costumes. He does the casting. He looks for very specific things within each character, and in some way, what I feel when I have worked with him is that I feel found. And something about that is it's very innocent, and it's absolutely thrilling. And so, I mean, literally, he's a master at what he does, and he's incredibly humble. And he's an artist, and he's a writer, and he does the wardrobe, and he always knows about the makeup, and he creates costumes, he creates what you're wearing. It's extraordinary. He has everything is a color to him. And I don't know, the first day that we all worked together was extraordinary, because we worked in all the 5 carnies were there, and Judith, and Malcolm, and Pancho, and Jane. And it was extraordinary because it was where, I don't know if have you all seen it though? Has anybody seen it?
Most of the audience.
Oh, right, great. It's when we were hanging from the chain.
Hanging around her.
What?
You were hanging around me.
We were hanging around.
Oh my God.
But it's extraordinary sometimes how everything changes like that. You go through the hair, you go through the wardrobe, you're being checked out, you know what your lines are, and all of a sudden, and I hadn't met Pancho, and all of a sudden, here comes Pancho through his door, and everything changes, and it's all about 31, and all of a sudden, here comes Judith. And I hadn't seen her, and she's all in white, and it was, I didn't know where I was. I mean, like that. And that Rob did all of this, and his extraordinary crew. I mean, they're just such wonderful people, you become a family, and then all of a sudden something turns. And there we all were hanging by chains. I didn't know what he was saying to me. You called me an old whore. And I asked what he said.
Old tired whore.
Old tired whore. But it's really like going down the rabbit hole. And it's absolutely thrilling and very frightening, but extraordinarily freeing.
Did you do a trigger warning before we started the?
No.
What?
Next question, please.
That's okay. Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Yeah, really, really tired. I'm sure you guys are too. Cool. So Rob obviously is known for writing and directing each one of his films. He writes every one of them. Sans, the trailer for Werewolf Woman of the SS and Groundhouse. This is the most extreme thing that he's written since The Devil's Rejects. Can you guys talk about your reaction when you first read the script and, some of the more extreme things in the film?
It's, as you know, it's a bloodthirsty movie, and so you know that with Rob, but you also know what your experience will be like. So it was a role that I wanted to play, and that was all that mattered to me. But I would like to just say something about Rob, because I know you probably all know what he looks like. And when I first met Sherry, she said, "Oh, when I met him, I thought he's got to be a bad boy." And Rob's got dreadlocks. Rob's covered in tattoos. Rob wears his hat way down to cover himself up. He's got huge, big boots on, so you could hear him coming down the hallway. And he is the most disciplined person, the most professional. And he is so totally different from what you might expect. He happens to be vegan, teetotal. I mean, it's not, his image doesn't necessarily fit what you get.
Anybody else?
Well, like for instance, I read the script, I enjoyed it. There's some things I didn't understand about it, but once we did the table read and saw everyone like bringing these characters to life, it made more sense. Most of my stuff was dialogue, subtext, dialogue, subtext, dialogue, subtext, dialogue, subtext. And so what you do with that when you're in the room is up to you. I made the choice of just making it one giant monologue and just adding a little bit of creepy behavior and just having a lot of silence and just weird looks. And it helped me, and I guess just as an actor, you just gotta make a choice and stick with it, and if you believe in what you're saying, then everyone else is going to believe what you're saying, I guess.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But I mean, you can't stop, you gotta just keep going, follow through, whether you think you're messed up or just keep it going, just like regular life. How I just stumbled here, and I just kept going. That's how it is.
Dave, anything to add? Other than Dave's got the we've already got you in a UK Blue t-shirt.
Go Cats. And Kittens as well.
Playing the crowd.
Rob also likes to write at night, so you could go in the morning and you get a new scene, or you get, pages that are different and things added. But particularly on Lords of Salem, he was consistently writing at night. And I would get emails saying, just so you know, this is what's coming for tomorrow. Totally different from anything else I've seen.
I have a funny story. When we were doing ADR for the film, I got to actually see all the edits and stuff, and
ADR is when you do sound after the film.
Yeah,
For those of you who don't know.
production. But there was a part where I'm creeping up towards Sherry in the bathroom, and it was just really, really silent, and Rob was like, "Man, it's too silent here. We gotta do something here. We gotta do." He's like, "I'm gonna go use the restroom real quick, and I'll be right back." And so he comes back, and he's like, "I thought of something." I'm like, "You thought of something while you were peeing?" And he's like, "Yeah, I thought of this little song." he's like, let's try it out, and each time just kind of intensify it. So he came up with this song that in the bathroom, and it goes, trick or treat, you are dead. I will smash your fucking head. And then it just keeps going and going, and I was like, this is awesome, man. Like, this is great. Like, so that's how that originated. I just thought you all should know that. That's how creative he is, you know?
Maggie, anything to add to that?
No.
Okay. Direct. Amazing. Next question, please. Oh, right over here. Thanks, Chad.
I have two, but one's really quick. The first one, how many times did that RV break down? Because it didn't look like it was very sturdy. None?
It didn't break down.
Oh, okay.
Didn't break down while I was in it.
Okay, all right. The second question I have is, the scene where they're doing the gambling and everything with the coins, where they're gambling amongst themselves about who's going to survive, was there more to that? Because it just kind of seemed like it ended abruptly, and I didn't get it.
That's probably Judy.
No, I wasn't in that, was I?
Who was doing coins?
It was Tom McDowell, two others.
That would have been.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
right. And yeah, you were like, I'm all in. You guys had these like golden like
Oh, yeah.
coins that were weird, but like then there was like a whole gambling aspect, but it didn't flush out. You guys just took your clothes off when it was over and left. And, like, was there more to it than that?
Do you know
No.
that was
No.
That was it. Okay.
That was it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
But I do remember saying to Dave, who was the operator on the first movie, I do remember saying to him, because he lit the second one, so after we got out of those extraordinary costumes and, you know, all that makeup, and we had that one moment where we were ourselves, and so I said to Dave, I said, I want to look 21 again, okay? He said, no problem.
All right, next question. Next question. Do we have one over here? Oh, right here. There you go. Yeah, just go ahead and stand up and we will.
Hi, this question is actually from Meg. Since in Lord of Salem you were kind of a traditional villain role, and then in this one you were more of a victim, which do you prefer more? Do you prefer to be the bad guy or the victim?
I don't prefer. I don't prefer. They're very different, aren't they?
It's the role, isn't it?
It's
that
the
matters.
role. Yeah, you go with the character that you give and add to that sweet. Just a different song, a different beat.
Well, while we're waiting for a question, if you guys, somebody wants to stand up and ask a question, what projects do you all have coming up? Tell us about your new projects after 31.
I don't have one yet. I'm looking.
I have a little horror movie coming out called Fear Inc. Should be out at the end of the year.
Okay.
I have a movie coming out called Fright Fest where I didn't get to play a killer. Sucks. But
Well, do you prefer playing killers than the victims? It just seems, I know where she's coming from, it just seems like that's more fun. Like, I got the chainsaw, I get to scream, you know. And
I mean, that was the first killer I ever played, Sick Head, so,
Right.
I mean, it was really fun. I mean, anything you get, you make a choice. It's like, if you don't want to do it, don't do it.
Right.
But, yeah, I just did a movie where it was cool. I mean, I'm bringing it up because there's a lot of paranormal groups and people
Mhm.
here, where I got to shoot for 3 weeks in Pennsylvania at Penhurst Asylum. And that was awesome because they didn't have to create the fright, you know, like we were the victims and we were running away and we got to play around in the underground tunnels where, I mean, there's a lot of history in that place and it was pretty amazing to be there and kind of scary at the same time. So that movie's coming out, it's called Fright Fest. It'll be a good one, it's fun.
Did you
Fun.
experience anything while you were there?
Huh?
Did
experience anything?
No, I didn't experience anything, you know, like, but we could never shoot there like on Friday nights and Saturday nights because the paranormal groups that would rent out the building for the night to stay stuck in there. It was kind of cool to see that. I didn't experience anything myself. I mean, I try not to be alone, so that might be why. That might be why, you know, it's kind of scary to be alone in any place in that building. And it's kind of cool because you look at the history there, and I saw this documentary called All the Children Suffer, and it was actually shot when people were still running the place, and it was run by this doctor named Dr. Fear.
Wow.
P-H-E-R-E, and
Really?
Yeah, and then I mean back in those times, I mean people would drop their kids off there and leave them for good, and it's kind of sad. And you saw all this documentary, and then you saw Dr. Fear being interviewed and talking about lobotomies and electric shock therapy, and back in those times, like them thinking that was the right thing to do, and it was just it was really scary. And then you got to see the building that he lived in and ran the place in, and it was just it was a really fun experience to be a part of that. And when you go and travel, and this is one of the things I love, like when you're on location and you're somewhere for 3 weeks, you get to actually really bond with your cast or crew, you know, because you're almost forced to be together. Where when we shoot in LA, it's just like you go to work and then you come home, you don't really.
Yeah, thank God we weren't forced to be together.
I know. But yeah, so it's a movie called Fright Fest. It should be coming out in 2017. It'll be a good one. And then there's another movie that I did called Banana Season, which is more of a friendship, relationship, just heartwarming, kind of emotional whirlwind of a movie. And I think that hopefully you guys will all enjoy that. I get to play my best friend's guardian angel, which would be cool. But I'm going to stop talking.
It's fine.
I don't have anything.
No,
I have comedy. I do a lot of comedy. I do a lot of comedy, and if you guys want to look up a comedy series, it's called No Actor Parking, and it's really fun. It's hilarious. You guys got to check it out. No Actor Parking.
Oh, fabulous.
Meg?
Let's see. Well, I have a film that will be opening. It was an independent film. It's called 3 Days in August. It was at the Montreal Film Festival and the Dallas Film Festival. It's by a wonderful director, Jonathan Brownlee, and it was filmed in Mineral Wells, Texas. I don't know. It's a lovely film. Barry Bostwick is in it, and Mariette Hartley, and some other actors. But it took place way out. Mineral Wells is an older area, and it's on this sort of abandoned, fabulous ranch that was built in the early 1920s, and it's great. And the story's about a woman who gave up her child for adoption, and the family that adopted her, and she invites her birth mother and the birth mother's husband, and of course her mother and father who raised her, to this hacienda place. And neither of the adults, meaning the parents, her adopted parent and her, the mother that raised her, know that the others are coming. And it's really quite wonderful. I haven't seen it all, but it was a wonderful experience. And there's something else, but I can't remember the name of it. I'm sorry. There's something else. I did another independent film and another independent film. That's the one that's coming out. It's 3 days long.
All right, thank you. Next question. Who had a question? We're here. Thank you.
was just wondering, what was your favorite moment on set? Whether it was a scene that really clicked for you or some kind of interaction between takes that really stood out. What was your favorite moment making 31?
Could I answer it with what happened on Lords of Salem?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, Patricia Quinn and Dee Wallace and myself are all on our knees, facing a door. And of course, the prop guys and everything, they're in control of the door. And so Patricia Quinn said to me right before the take, she said, "Darling, that door can't act." And I said, "I know, it's a bit wooden." And both of us started to giggle and our shoulders started to go up and down. Dan, yet again the operator said, then they called action, and Dan then said, "Could Judy and Meg stop their shoulders from shaking, please?" And that's one of the moments that's always stayed with me, in that fact that, you can't help it sometimes. It's like being in church and something funny happens and you cannot stop laughing. It was very hard to complete the take, even after we recovered.
For me, as I mentioned before, Rob talked to me about using Japanese in a scene, and so I got to do this scene where I'm kind of stalking, singing in Japanese, and that was like very, very rarely have I gotten to use Japanese, which was my, I lived in Japan for a while and I was a translator for a long time, but those two worlds, the Japanese translation stuff and my work in film and TV rarely collide. So to get that opportunity to do a scene in Japanese as a clown with a chainsaw was really fun for me. Although it didn't make it into the film, but I'm hoping it'll be in the DVD deleted scenes. The end.
Pancho?
I guess the moment for me was the first scene that we shot was, like nothing's ever shot in order, and this is a low budget film. It took us 20 days to film it. And so you gotta really step it up. You don't get too many takes, you get 2 to 3 takes at the most. So you gotta just make those life and death. And so my first take was me coming out and talking to all of them, everyone. Sherry, being in front of Malcolm, Judy, Jane Carr.
We've never met Pancho before.
Yeah, and that's my first scene. I've never really done anything this big, and I'm doing it with Rob Zombie. And I was just really, really nervous. Even though no one understood what the hell I was saying, the nerves were getting the best of me, and I was scared. And we did the first take, and Rob's like, I love it, but it's like, one of the things he came and said to me that just really helped me was, he says, when you come out, this is your moment. He's like, I want you to take your time with each person. Take your time, just with each person, don't rush it. This is your moment. And that just, that just gave me so much freedom. He unleashed the beast right there. He unleashed the beast, and it just made me feel like I had a breakthrough. It made me feel like I was home. And being with all these people, you gotta be nervous for your first time. You don't want to fuck up, but at the same time, no one understood what the hell I was saying anyway. So yeah, but it's funny because a lot of my friends that have seen the movie, some of them, are Americans. And they don't know what I'm saying, but I do have a lot of Spanish people that have seen it, and some of the things I say are really mean, and especially towards women and stuff. And the girls, some of my Spanish friends understood it, and they talked to my wife. They're like, "Oh my God, if you understood what he's saying, you're gonna divorce him. He's crazy." But luckily, she doesn't understand. But yeah, it was just a moment of freedom. I went on with it, but it was a moment of freedom. It was a breakthrough. It made me feel like this is where I belong, to be doing this and being. And I just enjoyed it. That's kind of the moment for me. It was a surreal moment, and I'll never forget it. And Rob was able to bring that out of me. And that's one of the things that Rob does. Is he's able to bring the best out of you by talking to you. He's an actor's director. So a lot of directors are like, "Hey, I want you to give me everything but nothing." And you're like, "What the fuck does that even mean? How do I do this?" And so. Yeah, that was the surreal moment I had, and the breakthrough moment I had that made me feel that I belong here.
You do.
I don't see myself doing anything else. So.
We had not met Pancho. I mean, I hadn't looked at Pancho. I had not met him, said hello, anything. And we were upstairs on the balcony looking down, and we had no idea what Pancho was saying, but he blew us all away. It didn't matter. We knew a really important actor had arrived.
Thank you.
It's okay, you can pay me later.
I think everyone here.
Meg?
No, it's the absolute truth. We were hanging. And here comes Pancho. We didn't even see you. And he came walking from the back through the dark.
I didn't make
into
I
the
didn't
light.
have nobody.
No, I know. It was all alone, and it was like, Judy came out, we were hanging, and literally from the dark, here came Pancho. And it was extraordinary. It was horrifying. It really, truly didn't know where we were. That's how it began. It began like that. Insofar as moments, good gracious. Well, wonderful moment. Two wonderful moments that come to my mind. One is, it is with Lords of Salem, and it was the first scene that I did, which was upstairs in the hallway, and Sherry is coming from the other end. It's when Morgan first meets Charlie. I don't know, it wasn't that it was funny, but you see, like seeing Pancho being hanging from a rope and seeing Judy, it's magic. He creates an environment that's absolutely stunning, and you're so present. I mean, really, we were adjusting our chains, and all of a sudden action, out comes Judith, and you don't know where you are. You're so in the moment. It's extraordinary. Then here comes, who's that? Oh, it's you. I mean, it's like being a part of it's really like it's like being a child and reading a book. All of a sudden, you're in it. It's that, I don't know what the right word is. Pure, and horrifying. There's always that sense of, with Sherry in the hallway, I had this experience where where I felt like I was walking upstairs to be tucked into bed. I'm being Morgan. But I thought that I was, and all of a sudden there's this incredible hallway, and there's this extraordinarily beautiful woman in black and white, with her eyes all painted. And I was Morgan, and all of a sudden, like you, when Rob came to speak to you, it wasn't said, but it happened. All of a sudden it was like, I am in the hallway. I am Morgan, and I just went. So it's an incredible process. And Rob's, how Rob works with everybody, it's so specifically with you. And because of the art that surrounds everything, you go on these little journeys that are real and that take you somewhere. Speaking Spanish.
There was a funny moment on set, like when we were shooting that first scene in the theater where I was introduced. We were shooting in an abandoned theater that they shoot a lot of things in. They rent it out and they decorate the space and they shoot a lot of things. And then our camp, where like our craft and everything was service, and our trailers were next door. You had to walk on Main Street in Los Angeles to go to camp, you know? So it's like, everyone's like lunchtime. And so I'm walking out and I have all this makeup on. I have a giant swastika on my chest. And I'm walking out on Main Street in this character and everyone's staring at me, but with this makeup, they put it on so good that you forget you're wearing it. It's not like walking down the street with a swastika and everyone's like looking at me like some people like were like, what the fuck is this guy doing? You know, or like let's hurt him, or I was just getting a lot of weird looks. And then I got to camp and I sat down and started eating and I'm like, this is why they're staring at me. I mean, I get stared at a lot no matter what, but this is even crazier. To have a dwarf walking on down the street, painted like a clown with a swastika, that's like horrifying. So
another day in LA, right?
Yeah. It's like, I mean, there's lots of performers, but that takes balls. Right? And that was kind of a funny moment. And then another funny moment was with Rob, like he likes to improvise and come up with things on the spot. So there's a moment where I'm chasing Sherry, his wife, down the hallway, and he comes up to me and he's like, hey, he's like, you mind teaching my wife some Spanish? He's like, I want you to teach her Spanish so she can combat you with Spanish. I'm like, all right, I'll do the best I can. So I told her some really awful things to say to me, and she did the best she can, and that's how we kind of came up with that scene. That was pretty fun.
All right.
I also had an experience in my costume in 31. As you've seen it, you know that we're in completely white clothes, white wig, white face, the whole thing. And I have a very large white dog. He's about 80 pounds, and he's got long, long white hair. And where we were shooting on Main Street, you couldn't see that there was a film crew there. We were in a parking lot that was seen to be hidden. There was no evidence that, someone's making a movie. And so I had to take him for a walk. And so I walked down Main Street, and the bus went by. And it was really extraordinary because everyone just... there was no way to work it out. I could see that they couldn't say, oh, of course, they're making a movie. Because there was I was totally alone. And it was one of my favorite moments. I would like to tell you a little story about Sherry. When we were doing Lords of Salem, there's a scene where she is in bed, and Gabriel, who plays a very little person, they call Gabriel and they ask him to come in, and he's in this extraordinary makeup. And so they say, Gabriel, and Sherry goes, oh! I said, what is it, Sherry, are you okay? She said, yeah, I can't look. I said, why? She said, I hate horror movies. I said, but Sherry, your husband writes them and directs them, and you star in them. She said, I know, it doesn't make any difference. I don't like these. I only like the ones in the 70s. So I said to Rob, I didn't know this. He said, oh yes. He said, this is how she'll watch the movie.
Is there a specific 70s one? I'm just kind of curious. Did you do it?
She loved Rosemary's Baby, so there's Rob, that's one of
so she's a Polanski fan, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. But no, I think for her, it's the blood. You know, there's a lot of arms coming off and things like that.
This was bloody.
And Rob uses real human blood.
He does, I know.
So
It's very expensive to get.
Yes, very expensive.
All right. So One quick question. We're running really low on time. If we can get right over here.
Can you hear me? Do I have that?
Yeah, we can hear you, dude.
Got a
Project.
good voice.
All right, cool. So one thing that's really cool, I think, about Rob Zombie is a handful of things. Like, I love his casting. The idea that this movie was made by a studio who starred a bunch of 20-year-olds that were supposed to be acting like 17-year-olds. I love the fact that he casts great veteran actors to create like seasoned roles for people. I love that. I also love that these movies always look incredible, even on an incredibly small budget. Like, they always look like they're made of way more money than what they do.
Now, I appreciate your commentary, but when are we getting to the question?
But do you have any cool examples of certain movie magic things that, in which case, would cost quite a bit more to shoot? You found a magical way around it to shoot it. It's just complicated stunt work and like effects stuff, especially with the chainsaw sequences.
One of the things that's helped movies like this get made within a budget is these new cameras, the red cameras. They enable you to get an outdoor scene set up in 15, 20 minutes. And that's how it gets done. Also, Rob is so visual that he knows what he wants, and he's got his own crew, and they do it for him. So basically, he just creates a fantasy world.
I feel like with like the effects that you're talking about with the chainsaw, I wasn't in those scenes at all, but what I notice is Rob likes to shoot it dirty. That's what he's like, shoot it dirty, and that means shaking the camera a little bit when they're shooting. So maybe that might add a little bit of effects of what you're talking about.
Yeah, is that it? All right, well, let's go ahead and thank our panel. They're going to be here all weekend long. Stop by our table, please introduce yourself. Thank you so much.